It's Biology with Mr. B. Biology with Mr. B. That's me! Right, I've not had to do that intro for a long time. Oh, where am I? Hi! Hi. Yeah, daughter got test positive, and I'm recording this Sunday morning, and I've just tested positive, so unfortunately I won't be with you until earliest next Monday, but this is just how I'm going to do my lessons this week, because hopefully it makes sense. First, before I get into today's lesson, I want to remind you that you do have a homework that was set last week. And if you weren't in last Thursday, just like myself, unfortunately that does not stop you from doing this. So that homework was, in the first of those Thursday lessons, you were given, you were asked to watch the little YouTube video on me going through the topic, cell structure. You were then given cell structure topic-based questions to complete and to mark. That was the homework due this Thursday. Because I'm not in this Thursday, obviously that does make it more complicated, and it does mean I've got to give you a bit of an extension, don't I? So now, rather than this being all due in this Thursday, this is all due in next Thursday, which, if I get my numbers right, if Monday next week's the 24th, that's the day I should be back. Tuesday's 25th, Wednesday's 26th. This is all due the 27th of January. And it's the completion of this booklet, completed and marked. And because in the second of those lessons, you were watching a YouTube video on the topic transport in cells, and you were given the transport in cells topic-based questions to complete and mark. That homework was always going to be due for the 27th. Okay, so I've not changed that date. It's just now because the 27th is going to be the next time I see you face to face. So that's when I want to see you completing both of these, filling in the front cover with the what went well, even better if, so that I can have a 5-minute chat going around the room and have that individual conversation with everybody to see how you've got on, and if I need to spend any more time in my lesson going through key elements of these topics. Alright? Awesome. Let's get rid of all that. Obviously this is a recording, so if you've missed, like anytime this lesson you sort of miss bits, you just want the teacher, whoever's covering, to go back. It's just a click of the button, innit? Right, so first game I'd like to play before we get like books and titles, keywords. First game I want to play is, what is the stimulus game? So I'm going to do things in my current position in my chair. I'm going to do things that hopefully are going to change the environment, because a stimulus is a change in the environment. So you ready for the first one? First change in the environment? Magic. Here we go, do it again. Woo! So, what was the stimulus? It was light. As I put my finger on the camera, less light is being transmitted into that camera, and therefore the screen should go darker. As I pull the finger away, the light floods into the camera, and therefore you are now seeing more light being shone into your eyes at the same time, as the light is reflecting currently off the board into your eyes. So if the stimulus is light, the next question is, and again, this is between you and your partner, I'll give you 5 seconds to try and think of his name. What are the name of the receptors that detect the light stimulus? If you and your partner just sat in silence for that, then you got that wrong, okay? You do need to I need you involved in this as best you can. So, the receptors are in the back of my eye, in the retina, but the cells are called light receptor cells. A stimulus of light has light receptor cells. Easy. get thinking what the response would be. As we're doing that, if you're constantly looking at the board as I do this, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, there is a physiological response going on inside your body. Your body is physically changing something so that your body can better respond to that change in light stimuli. Have a think what that could be. Next stimulus. You ready? I've done light. Let's try this one. Okay. You're welcome. If Lucas needs to go to the toilet, he's very welcome to now. So, in terms of stimulus, I guess you could say light again. I did go to the camera, but my hope was that would be a sound stimulus, if I'm honest. So, 5 seconds again. The name of these receptors that detect the change in sound. Those receptors were sound receptors. It's as easy as that. Just bear with me, I've not plugged the laptop in. That's a rookie mistake, isn't it? Is that working? Yay! Laptop's plugged in. So, we've got light as a stimulus, with light receptors found in the retina, back of the eye. We've got, cheers mate, we've got sound receptors in your ears, detecting changes in sound, which is, realistically, it's actually just a change in the amount of vibrations that are flowing through your ears, because that's all sound is. It's a vibration when it gets into your ears and the bones vibrate. There are other things I could do, but it's difficult in this chair. I could touch something hot. It doesn't work, does it? Touch something hot, we can get the idea of temperature receptors in the skin. I could just simply touch anything, really, and then that's the idea of pressure and pressure receptors in the skin. What are the stimulus am I forgetting? Light, sound, temperature, pressure. I must be forgetting one. I'm ill. It's fine. Right, so I asked you to try and focus on what the response might be. So our stimulus. You don't need to write this down, by the way. This is sort of building us up into our title and the first key thing I need you to write down in your books. So our stimulus is a change in the environment. These were just our definitions from the last time I saw you in person. And our receptors were cells that detect the stimulus. So if our stimulus is light intensity, that idea of it going from, bright light to dark light, we know that the next step is the receptor, which are my light receptor cells in the eye, specifically in the very back of the eye called the retina. What's the response? When bright light shines into your eye, bright light that wasn't there previously, what happens to your eyes? When you take that bright light away and it all goes dark, what happens to your eyes? Take 10 seconds. Talk to the person next to you. Come up with an idea. Feel free to pause me, cover teacher. See if they get the right response, because I'm just going to go through the answer. Okay, the response. Did you come up with the idea that in bright light, your pupil will be really small, but in dim light, your pupil will get larger? What is with all these notifications? So your pupil, that's the black part of the eye, is actually getting larger in dim light, And in bright light, it is getting shorter. Luckily, because we're not doing triple science, I don't need to go into the specifics of exactly how that works, because it's incredibly complex. But I do need you to understand that that cannot happen without muscles. A muscle is responsible for that change. For making it smaller, for making it larger, it is a pair of muscles that are doing that. And let's think about any other stimulus we could. Let's say the stimulus is temperature and you touch something hot. The temperature receptors in your skin, what's the response? Usually to pull your hand away quite violently. You touch something hot, you go, ah, don't you? And the hand goes flying. Why does the hand move? Why does the arm move away? Because the muscles in the arms contract and move it. If I scream to the camera again and I make the sound really, really loud, if anyone wasn't expecting that because they weren't paying attention, if anyone jumped or flinched, or if Lucas did need to go to the toilet, all those responses are caused by muscles reacting to the possible threat of, I don't know, me jumping through the screen and sort of just, I don't know, whatever. So, I would like you, please, this is where we get our actual title down today. I would like a title of the reflex arc. And rather than the usual key words for literacy, instead I'm going to put those key words in a flowchart to give us a key idea. Every single thing in your body, every single change that our body makes begins with a stimulus. Your body will only change the way it acts if there's a change in the environment first. That change is always detected by receptor cells. And those receptor cells will need to communicate with your central nervous system. Oh, wrong one. Your central nervous system, guys, is either the brain or spinal cord. Not every nervous response goes to the brain. The only ones that go to the brain are the ones that we have conscious control over. For example, if you're only now just choosing to pick up your pen, that's a conscious decision that is definitely something controlled by the brain. If you touch something really hot and you move your arm away, that's probably not the brain, that's probably actually just the spinal cord being involved in that reflex arc. We know that the last step is going to be the response. Moving the arm away, the pupils dilating, whatever it needs to be to help ensure your better survival. The thing we're missing is our effectors. And our effectors are either muscles, like muscles in your arm moving your hand away, or muscles in the eye, specifically in the iris, helping to dilate or contract the pupils. These effectors, by the way, can sometimes be glands. Glands secrete things, secrete substances. So it might be you secrete a hormone, like adrenaline, or it might be, imagine, so the stimulus could be light. Stimulus could be light, reflecting off a cake. The receptor is the light receptor in the back of your eye. An impulse is sent to the central nervous system via nerves. And it goes to your brain, and your brain goes, cake. An impulse is then sent to your effectors, that could be your salivary glands, which begin the response of secreting saliva. Getting ready to eat the cake. So these are my key terms. To remind you of definitions, should you be unsure of any, a stimulus is a change in the environment. A receptor is the cell that detects the stimulus. The central nervous system is your brain or spinal cord. The effector is either a muscle or a gland that causes a response. Okay, so I'm missing a bit here. The bit I'm missing how does this message, not very scientific term message, so it's the only time I'm going to use it, how does this message get from the receptor cells, like the cells in the ear or the cells in the eye or the cells in your skin, to the central nervous system, and then this message somehow goes all the way to an effector, a muscle, a gland? What is this message? Why is it so efficient? So let me introduce you, and you're welcome to copy this as I do it, to neurons, which is a posh way of saying a nerve cell. Neurons. Neurons. Neurons are a type of specialised cell, and they are heavily adapted. They have all the usual cell bits. They have a nucleus, cytoplasm, cell membrane, there'll be mitochondria, there'll be ribosomes. It's a normal cell. The difference is that, with the exception of the little cell body it then has an incredibly long, thin part. It would help if I could draw. Incredibly long, thin part called an axon. And this axon can terminate and connect to loads of other different neurons. I mean, I've drawn like 8 there, but in reality there could be 1,000 connections to 1,000 different other neurons, creating pathways that electricity could flow. So a neuron's job is to transmit, move along is another way to say that, an electrical impulse. So when we said message before, don't mean message. That's not scientific. The science is that an electrical impulse is travelling from here, that might be a receptor cell, to here, that might be the central nervous system. And this electrical impulse is being transmitted all the way along the axon. And some of these axons are over 1 metre long. You have and like a single neuron connects the base of your spinal cord to your toes. Now granted, it's not 1 metre long in my body. I'm 5'6". Mine's probably more like 75 centimetres. But in those of you who are bordering on 6 foot, yeah, that neuron between the base of your spine and your toes, that's one cell over 1 metre long. And that electrical impulse can flow within the axon really fast, up to 400 metres per second, to deliver impulses to your toe that could be, to help you walk. So our neurons are transmitting electrical impulses along this reflex arc. So if we go back to that original, where are you? If we go back to that original flowchart that I hope we've all got down, got stimulus, receptor, central nervous system, effector, which was the muscles of the glands, and then response. I can actually annotate this to tell you the exact neurons involved. Because I know between a receptor and the central nervous, the type of neuron is called a sensory neuron. I always remember this one because the receptor has detected or sensed the stimulus. So the neuron it sends the electrical impulse to the central nervous system is along a sensory neuron. I'm going to write this along the arrow as well. I'm going to write electrical impulse. And there's another electrical impulse here travelling between the central nervous system, brain or spinal cord, to the effector, muscle or gland that will carry out the response. And I know that this neuron is called the motor neuron. This probably isn't the best way to remember it, but for me, a motor neuron is going to drive the response, because motors are in cars. Drive the response. Meh. Learning which one is which and where it is very much practice does make perfect. And unfortunately, that is not the only type of neuron. Within the central nervous system, there are neurons that connect the sensory to motor neuron, and they're called relay neurons. Relay neurons. I remember this one because it's passing the baton between sensory and motor, like in a relay running race. Passing the baton between them, maybe? No. Yeah, practice is going to make perfect on this one. So, let's test my artistic talent. By the way, I failed Year 9 art. I got A for effort and D for attainment. So let's see if I can put that silly art teacher to shame. Prove that I'm amazing. So I'm going to draw a hand. I can do this. Thumb, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all right. I can take that. And let's draw the arm going into the body, then eventually into a leg. I'm happy with this so far. And again, we've got the arm. Go up to the shoulder. Up someone's chin, his nose. Ooh, what is that chin? Let's give him a double chin. There you go, that's better. So up here, we've got the brain. There's the cerebellum for balance. Let's have the brainstem coming down into the spinal cord. That's a decent spinal cord for me. The spinal cord would go all the way down, wouldn't it, to the base of the spine. So all of this, brain, spinal cord, that's my central nervous system. And let's put the danger. What danger can I have? Let's have a Bunsen burner. I think I can draw Bunsens. This is obviously a miniature Bunsen burner. Look how small it is compared to the hand. Never mind. And let's draw fire. So, like, ooh. I'll put some oranges and yellows in it, make it really pretty. Ooh, fire. Okay, let's actually make it touch the person's hand, because I want this to actually be an impulse. There you go. Like, I've made the fire rubbish, but it's close enough. And it's touched this finger here. Ah! So, let's go on a journey. This little blue dot. It's a receptor. A temperature receptor in the skin. The fire. Oh, for God's sake. No, stop being silly. The fire is the stimulus. So the first thing that's going to happen here, and I'll do this one in black, is that an electrical impulse is going to travel along a sensory neuron to the central nervous system. So just one in black, this is my sensory neuron. It is transmitting an electrical impulse from the receptor to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, There's going to be other neurons. For example, relay neurons, which are in the central nervous system, in the spinal cord, in the brain. And these relay neurons connect the sensory neuron to a motor neuron. And the motor neuron will carry the electrical impulse to the effector, which in this case would be a muscle in the arm, which will contract to cause the arm to move away from the fire and therefore keep you hopefully safe. That's the response. So all of this put together is near enough an entire reflex arc. It's not actually the full story. There's a little bit I haven't done yet. But that's my reflex arc, and that's where I want to leave this today. You are very welcome. If that hasn't gone in, because I'm going to give you some tasks now, if that's not gone in, this is a recording. We can go back, you can re-watch me do this step by step with the horrible diagram of a person. So, your tasks. This is the second half of task 1 that we didn't get a chance to do last time because we hadn't done this reflex arc idea. You are now ready to do that. You are also ready now to do task 2 in your booklet, because these are all things that we have now covered. Okay? So task 1 and 2, please. Should they be ready to do this lesson, I'm going to now go through the answers on this recording. So should they be ready to, green pens, and we can mark it as well. So I'm now going to go through this. So if students are ready, make sure they have green pens, green pen students. Should you need any corrections, obviously you're welcome to use blue pens as well to respond to any feedback. So this flowchart is hopefully going through step by step the reflex arc. The nail is the stimulus. Or at least the pressure caused by the nail is the stimulus. And that's detected by the pressure receptors in your skin. An impulse passes from your skin to the central nervous system. I'm going to clarify this. That's an electrical impulse. Passes from your skin to your central nervous system along a sensory neuron. The central nervous system, that could be brain or spinal cord. I'm going to presume it's probably spinal cord in this instance. The central nervous system registers the message and coordinates the response by sending an impulse to your muscles along a motor neuron. And within the central nervous system, a relay neuron is connecting the sensory to the motor. The muscles in your fingers are effectors, and the response is that they contract and move the finger away from the nail, hopefully giving you a survival advantage, an evolutionary advantage, enabling you to better survive, therefore hopefully reproducing and passing down your genes to your kids. It's natural selection. Like generally, if you didn't have working pressure receptors, your finger would go all the way on that nail, nothing would tell your brain to move the arm away. You'd probably get infected, which means you're more likely to die, therefore not survive, not pass down your genes. So if you had a genetic mutation that these receptor cells didn't work, yeah, you wouldn't survive, wouldn't pass down those genes to your kids. But the people with the genes that allow them to detect this are more likely to survive and reproduce, pass down their genes. This is classic natural selection, that 4-marker, green vans and 6 red girls, that we covered, and you guys actually did really well on when it came up in the mock. Task 2, response to stimuli. 3 receptors can help you play rugby, so you need to be able to see the ball. Light receptors, you need to be able to feel the ball as you're carrying it, so pressure receptors. I don't think temperature matters. Sound receptors would be relatively important, so you can communicate to your teammates. Light, pressure, sound. I'm not fussed about temperature. I'm also not particularly fussed about chemical receptors for like nose and tongue. I don't think you should be tasting rugby. Don't get wrong, I've had a good face full of like mud in my time playing rugby, but I don't think it's essential to play rugby to get a face full of mud. Anyway, the diagram. So we should go stimulus, receptor, central nervous system, effector, response. If I'm going too fast, again, it's a recording, yeah. So, one's been done for us. Anna's tasted a bit of food and spits out. So the stimulus was a bit of taste, detected by chemical receptors in the mouth and the tongue. Excuse me. Oh, I'm feeling horrible. Anyway, an electrical impulse has been sent to the central nervous system. That should not say receptor. That should say effector. Sorry guys, that definitely should say effector. The effectors would be muscles in the face causing you to spit out the food. So William can't hear the CD player. He turns it up. So the stimulus is the sound, or maybe lack of sound, from the CD player. That low levels of sound is detected by sound receptors in the ear. An electrical impulse is fired along a sensory into the central nervous system. It will go through relay neurons to connect with a motor neuron, which takes the electrical impulse to, in this case, muscles in probably the legs to go and stand up. Maybe the arms and the fingers to go and actually turn the CD player up. So the CD player being turned up is the response. Ruben sees a goal, stands up and cheers. So he's gone to support the fish army. He sees a goal, stands up and cheers. So what's going on? The stimulus is obviously... Well, to do this properly, it's actually the light reflecting off the player, the ball, the pitch, which has enabled him to see the goal. So the receptors are light receptors. We get the electrical impulse along the central neuron to the central nervous system. Electrical impulse in the central nervous system is carried by relay neurons to the motor neuron, which carries it, in this case, to muscles in the legs, which enables him to stand up. To cheer, and that will be muscles in your vocal cords, enabling you to actually cheer. Oh, and Sahid is falling over, but he stops himself by holding onto a chair. Well done, Sahid. So the stimulus in this case is quite a cool one. The stimulus is actually balance. You might remember me saying in the first lesson of this topic that your ears actually can detect balance as well. So the receptor are cells in your ear which specifically detects your body position. We get the usual electrical impulses, so sensory, relay and motor neuron. And this would be muscles, if he's holding on to the chest, this would be muscles in the arms, which has enabled him to hold onto the chair. We're then given some specific examples, and we have to use the term stimulus, receptor, effector, response in our description. So I'm going to run through. I'm not going to write this down because, in all honesty, my hands are shaking. So I don't think it's wise. So whilst playing football, Yoshima was tackled. No, she temporarily lost her balance but managed to stay on her feet. Describe how her body responded to her losing her balance. Right. Firstly, well done if you've included the neurons. Sensory, relay, motor. Well done if you've included the term electrical impulse. Not that you've got a lot of space to do it, but if I were to do this properly, I would say the stimulus is the change in body position, the balance, detected by receptors in the ears. An electrical impulse is fired along a sensory neuron to the central nervous system. The electrical impulse passes along a relay neuron to a motor neuron, which takes the electrical impulse to muscles in her feet, maybe, enabling her to respond by staying on her feet, by regaining her balance. Fran, she's a bee stung her hand. She's pulled her hand away. Describe the way in which she responded to the bee sting. So the stimulus is the pressure of the sting going into the hand. It may also be it potentially could be the pain caused by the chemicals as well. So maybe it could be chemical receptors. But I'm going to go with a pressure point of view. So a pressure receptor in the skin has detected it. An electrical impulse has been fired along a sensory neuron to the central nervous system. The electrical impulse then goes to a relay neuron, then to a motor neuron, which takes electrical impulse to muscles in her arm, which have caused her to move her arm and pull her hand away. Liam's playing rugby. He passes his ball to Craig. Craig's caught it. So for Craig, that stimulus is actually the sight of the ball being passed. So it's the stimulus is actually the light that's reflecting off the ball, and maybe off Liam as well. An electrical impulse has been transmitted along a sensory neuron from those light receptor cells to the central nervous system. Electrical impulse goes along a relay neuron to a motor neuron, which takes electrical impulse to muscles, and all fairness, probably all over Craig's body to catch it. Definitely in the arms, definitely in the fingers, maybe in the legs, all over to help him catch that ball, whatever's needed. He might need to speed up, slow down, depends how where he was in position to the ball when it was thrown. Anyway, that was the end of task 2. So, no idea how long I've just been going on for. So that might have legitimately took you all of Monday and Thursday's lesson. I have no idea. But I will get feedback from the lesson on Monday. So if I need to do more, then there will be another link and another little video doing a little bit extra. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you're all staying well and happy. And I'm really hopeful to see you. Well, when's that next time? Thursday the 27th. So, you've got like 11... Well, it's Sunday for me today. So it's 11 days as I record this until I get to see your lovely faces again. So bye-bye. And especially bye-bye to the besties. They know who they are. See you again.